Welcome back to the Vegans Who Live podcast. We are your hosts. I am Miss Meatless Muscle, otherwise known as Brooke, and I'm here with John Thomas, the bodybuilding vegan. What is up, John?
What's up, dude? Just a load of complaining today about doctors in the medical system over here. So y'all get braced for it. Go get braced for impact on some horror stories, some things we've seen with clients, and just the horrible state that we are in a pill popping and fruit and vegetable shunning society. But yeah, anyways, I'll get off my soapbox. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. I'm doing good because I didn't listen to doctors for a long time.
Ah, oh, good Lord. I'm doing good as well. Ooh, I'll give you a little update here in a minute. I know we're both hungry. We talked about that off air. I know we both want to eat. So hopefully we'll distract ourselves for about 30 minutes, tell you guys why you shouldn't go to the doctor 9 times out of 10. And yeah. Anyways, quick update. So my coach is like, I want to see you at 235 pounds. And I'm like, okay, I'm 240. And he's like, yeah, we're taking your off day macros. You're going to be at 300 protein, 200 carbs, 75 grams of fat. I'm like, God dang it, man. Like, I guess think about it. Like, I mean, Brooke, yeah, I can't really complain to you because you were the king of poverty macros. But for most people, if their carbs are underneath their body weight in pounds, that hurts at least a little bit, at least for me. Like, I'm used to 400, 500, 600. 700, maybe more carbs a day. So 200 is a little bit low for me. But anyways, I'll stop complaining.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah.
I thought about you and I was like, Brooke's got it worse. I should just shut up. But
Yeah, definitely. I've been low carb for a while, but I've just kind of gotten used to it now. I don't know, like my appetite's kind of been under control. I will say, I think, because I've noticed a big shift in my appetite, and I think just killing off that parasite probably did me wonders. And it's just kind of crazy how much my health has improved since I got rid of that thing. Because I'm like, really, this parasite could be causing all this? Like, I can't lose weight. Like, all this stuff was going on, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I'll kill off the parasite, sure, but then like I'm probably still gonna have to go do all these tests and all this stuff, and then yeah, like I guess it did a lot more than I thought it was doing. But yeah, so like for me, I really want to get down to like 165 by like December. So I've got like another 10-ish pounds right now to lose.
okay.
So yeah, that's kind of my goal right now.
That's about the hair over a pound a week. I think you could do that as long as there's no roadblock for Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. Which I've been doing really well. And I've had some weeks where I even got ahead a little bit. And I'm like, good, awesome. So I don't know. I'm hoping by December I can be a little bit leaner. So I'm working really hard right now.
Sweet. Well, all right. Let's dive into why doctors suck. All right, that's maybe a little harsh, but you know what? There are good doctors out there. We have some that we want to bring on the podcast. But what I mean in this is kind of the way the medical system is created in the United States. It's for profit, so doctors are not incentivized out of the kindness of their hearts to tell you to go eat a healthy diet, to tell you to exercise. They're incentivized to give you pills that they can sell you at exorbitant prices. And I know that, you're taught as a child, you go to the doctor and you figure out the best thing to do and you go do it. But I really want to empower everyone listening to this episode. Don't become a WebMD doctor. Like, you're not an expert just because you read one article, but you should have a very good understanding of every drug you're taking, the reason behind it, what reasonable dosages are. And I recommend you have all that figured out before you even talk to your doctor. If your doctor says you're going to take this new drug, it's ZYZ, and you go look it up and you find, okay, this is a typical amount that's used. This is how long it's typically used for. This is how it's typically administered. You can at least have some knowledge prior to your doctor telling you what to do and you just viewing that as gospel. I'm happy to jump into my own journeys here and give some brief feedback on my own. And Brooke, if you feel like sharing some of yours, you can do that. Does that work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So Um, well, one, most doctors don't want you to be vegan because they think you're going to develop all these deficiencies. I'm just deficient in heart disease, cancer, diabetes. My dad used to tell me that he could not eat an apple because it was too many carbs. His doctor told him, since since you have diabetes, you can't eat carbs, and that includes apples. And that just used to drive me up a wall because I'd watch him eat a sandwich on white bread, and it's like, you can have all that bread, but you can't have an apple. So for me, I started experiencing, after competing naturally and not having a coach and destroying my hormones, symptoms of low testosterone. And so some of those were inability to perform in the gym, inability to perform in the bedroom, really just inability to perform. I was a shell of a human being. So I went to my doctor and we got the blood work done. And at the time, the reference range for a healthy male with testosterone was, I believe, 250 nanograms per deciliter up to 1100. I came back at 262. And he's like, "You're fine, buddy. You're good to go." And I'm like, "I don't get boners. What do you mean I'm fine?" And he's like, "Well, you're in the reference range." And I'm just like, "Yeah, but I'm 23 and I feel like shit and I track all my food and I sleep." And he's like, "Well, you're in the reference range." And I'm just like, "That's it, dude. That's it. That's all you got for me. Can I see a specialist?" So he put in for me to go see an endocrinologist. She ran 2 more blood tests. I tested it like 235 on one. And then she's like, "Well, it's probably because of this reason. So let's retest." And I tested at 185. I'm like, all right. So after being shunned and saying I just wanted to use steroids and get put on testosterone so I could lift like all my other lifting friends, and being given basically no information about how to use this drug, how to inject this drug, how to take this drug, and then told that I don't need to have my estrogen monitored, I was like, something's just not lining up here. I'm being accused of being a drug user. I am being told I don't need to monitor my estrogen, but by my minuscule amount of reading, not really. I was like practically an expert at this time, but I knew testosterone converts to estrogen. So I knew that was probably important to check my estrogen levels. And she refused. She said, "I'm not going to do it." I'm like, what is wrong with you? I found out, as Brooke has found out, you can go pay and get private blood work done. If you guys need help with that, message one of us. We can point you in the right direction. You don't have to have your doctor's order to go get blood work. You just have to have a doctor, and there are websites where you can pay a doctor to let you go get whatever blood work you want done. And all of this to say, I had to learn a lot about this journey for myself. I had to take on an immense amount of research just to get properly medicated, just to get something that I needed for my own health. And that's one of the reasons why I coach. That's one of the reasons why we're having this podcast right now, is you might be in those same shoes. Doctors, they're just not incentivized to tell you the right thing to do. They're not going to try and look at your diet, your lifestyle. And then if you actually do need the drug, they might not give you the proper information. So that was my like eye-opening experience to, hey, you might want to do more research on the things you're putting into your body from your doctor. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up because I've talked most of this podcast and let Brooke go down hers. But that was my eye-opening experience.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is and I do feel for some doctors, because I feel like there are people out there who really wanted to help people, but it's like you said, it's the system. The system is set up where that's just not possible, because even these schools, and I think everybody's kind of aware of that statistic now, that like doctors receive like, what is it, like 1 hour or so of nutrition training in school, in medical school. But the schools are funded by big pharma. So it's just this big, giant, like triangle where exactly it's like this money pit, and that's what's incentivizing everyone. So, even if you're an awesome doctor and you go in with great intentions and you really want to help people and you really want to make a difference, your education is not going to teach you how to do that. And you're going to have to teach yourself nutrition and lifestyle, stress management, all that stuff on your own. And I feel like I can accurately say this because my boyfriend is a doctor, and and he really does want to help people, and he truly wants to give people good advice, but he is now like kind of your non-conventional doctor, because he sees this stuff every day in his practice, and he's always coming home and telling me about like, oh my God, you won't believe what this doctor put my patient on and all these medications and all this stuff. So it's unfortunate that our system is set up this way. And I don't totally fault all doctors, but I do think there are a lot of doctors too who just also couldn't be bothered. And that's kind of been my experience as well. So and like John was saying, something that I've experienced with my clients is the hormone. I mean, if you're talking about hormones, I mean, you can just freaking forget it unless you have like Hashimoto's or you have some sort of like easily detectable hormone issue that like they can look at on a piece of paper and say, yep, you know, you have Graves' disease, like here's what you need to do. Then you're pretty much screwed. Like women in menopause, perimenopause, like if you're a guy who has low testosterone, because you're going to run your blood work, they're going to look at it. It's going to be normal. It's going to be in the reference range normal, but it's not going to be what's optimal for you at your age, at your fitness level, with your health. And I deal with that all the time with clients. I'm like, all right, you can't lose weight. You're eating 1,400 calories and you're doing 12,000 steps a day. You need to run your thyroid panel all the time. I get my clients, they run their thyroid panel. Oh, my doctor said everything was fine. It's not fine. You have hypothyroidism and you should really be being treated for this, but nobody's going to listen. Everybody's going to tell you you're fine. And I went through the same thing with my hormone issues. And I'm very grateful. I have my boyfriend who is a hormone specialist so that he could help me. But a lot of people don't have that luxury. Most people don't have that luxury. And hormones, I mean, you can just absolutely forget it. And if you're a woman, I mean, doctors don't even want to look at it and they'll use your menstrual cycle as an excuse. But like, if you have any sort of bit of knowledge on a menstrual cycle, you should be able to look at blood work and say, oh, okay, well, you're in the luteal phase, so this is kind of what we should expect here. But they don't even go there. So it's really unfortunate. But yeah, okay, so I'll just quickly go into my story. So for me, very same. I grew up thinking, oh my God, doctors, that is like the most prestigious career. They know everything. If a doctor tells me to do something, I'm doing it. Like that is the gold standard. Like they know their shit, you know. Oh, a doctor told you, oh, then they must be right. And it was when I went through all of my gut issues that I realized how absolutely fucked our medical system is, because I was probably misdiagnosed. I don't even know how many times. I'd have to count. I mean, so anyways, basically, long story short, I started having gut issues and I really didn't even know what it was in the beginning. I had no idea. I didn't know if it was like, honestly, like a tumor, an ovarian cyst, a gut issue. I had no idea what was going on. I just knew I was in a lot of pain. And I had a huge, hard, hot, inflamed stomach. And it did look like I was pregnant. And so initially I scheduled an appointment with my OBGYN because it was like kind of in that low abdomen area. So I felt like maybe this was the right person to see. And she immediately asked me if I was pregnant. And I said, no, there's no way I'm pregnant. Like, there's no way. There has to be something involved for me to be pregnant. And that's not happened. So there's no way I'm pregnant. And she tested me for it anyways, which was kind of shitty. And I was like, well, I'm not paying for that. So I don't know who you're going to bill, but you can bill whoever you want for that. But so initially she's like, oh, well, you're probably pregnant. So that was my first, I guess, diagnosis in a way, or proposed diagnosis. And so then, of course, the pregnancy test was negative. And then she said I had a yeast infection. And that was what was causing all this inflammation. Like, she proposed that it had like traveled and it, like, I don't know, it was causing all this inflammation. And I'm like, that sounds kind of strange. Like, that sounds kind of weird. I don't feel like that's what's going on. Like, I don't think a UTI would be this painful and cause like this huge abdominal distension, where I couldn't even fit in my pants. And she was like, oh, it happens. It happens. You know, it can happen. She didn't sound very confident. She just sounded like, that's probably what happened. She kind of wrote me a prescription for some sort of cream I'm supposed to use. And so went and picked it up. Of course, nothing changed. Nothing happened. So that was, I was pregnant and then I had a UTI. So I went back about a month later. I still had all the same symptoms. By this point, it's worse. And this is the same OBGYN. I don't even know why I went back to her, but she did an ultrasound. She believed I had an ovarian cyst. So the ultrasound came back. She said she saw fluid. She saw fluid on the ultrasound. She didn't see a cyst. So she said that I needed to go on birth control to prevent any more cysts coming back, because that's most likely what was happening. So I, at this point, did not feel confident in her decisions and what she was telling me to do after just all that I had been through. And I don't even know, I've probably spent maybe $400 at this point. And so then I go to another OBGYN. Well, yeah, I go to another OBGYN. And this is someone I had never seen before. I was referred to by a friend. And so I kind of gave her the lowdown on like, hey, this is what I've done. This is all the tests I've done. However, I don't think this is the issue. Again, the doctor told me, well, this is probably an ovarian cyst. That's probably what this is. We see this a lot. And the only way to prevent this is if you go on birth control. And I really didn't want to go on birth control, but I was in so much pain. And I was just absolutely like, I was losing the quality of my life that I felt like I had no other option. I'm like, I can't let this keep happening. So got on birth control. And then, of course, nothing changed. Nothing happened. They told me it would take several months for me to be able to see a difference. It could take up to 3 months. And I'm like, I'm literally about to go to the ER in pain. That's how bad this is. So I can't wait 3 months. So anyways, then I go to my third doctor. This is my third doctor I go to. So then I go to another just primary care physician. This is another person who was recommended to me, and they were through Wellstar. So I'm like, all right, Wellstar, they probably know what they're doing over there. And I will never forget this appointment. I had my mom go with me because I just felt like every single doctor I saw, I was just kind of being shut down. And so this guy, he kind of did the same thing. And he did his exam. He did whatever. He did order in another ultrasound. Again, the ultrasound found nothing. And he was like, well, Brooke, why don't you tell me what you think is wrong with you? And I knew he was just kind of to tell me like I'm a hypochondriac, basically. And I remember telling him, like, I have no idea. I just know that like literally a couple months ago, I was in the best shape of my life and I had abs, and now I have this huge, giant, hard, inflamed stomach. I'm in pain. I can't eat anything. I had all these symptoms. And then he didn't really have any answers for me. So he said, okay, I think it's time to refer you to a GI. So finally, I at least have a step in the right direction. But this is three doctors so far, and I still don't know what's wrong with me. This is probably 6 months later. So now I go to a GI, and that was just a complete shit show. I'm not even going to get into any of that. But basically, I had 2 appointments with him. At this point, I probably spent $3,000 trying to figure out what's wrong with me through all the testing, all the office visits, all of it. And he run a bunch of tests. He did a CT scan. He wanted to do a colonoscopy. I ended up just saying no to that because I just knew it. Like, it's not going to tell me anything. And he just basically told me, you're sensitive. You're just really sensitive. And you just are going to have to learn to manage this. Everybody tried to talk me out of being vegan, of course. So he told me I shouldn't be vegan because, it's all the plant foods are what's causing me to have issues, all of the fiber, that I should eat more animal products. And I just left feeling totally defeated. And at this point, like I've said, I've spent thousands of dollars. I've seen 4 doctors and no one has any answers for me. Nobody knows what's wrong with me. It was my bodybuilding coach who said, this is SIBO. This is SIBO. 100%. You have SIBO. And so I went back to my GI and I told him, I really think this is SIBO. Can you test me for it? He refused to test me for it. He said that I was too young to have SIBO. Only old people get SIBO. So it would be, a waste of money, a waste of time, basically. You just need to eat low FODMAP. Here's a pamphlet on how to eat low FODMAP. Go take care of yourself, basically. Take Gas-X. Take Pepto-Bismol. That was basically it. It was like, this is your life. This is your life now. And you just need to learn how to manage it. And here's some pamphlets to help you and have a good life, basically. So I ordered a test myself to test for SIBO through my coach, and I was able to figure out that I did in fact have SIBO. I had gut dysbiosis, I had H. pylori, I had E. coli, I had a whole bunch of fucking shit in my gut. And it was like the worst, it was the worst test my coach had ever seen. And he does this all the time. So it's kind of crazy. And that's just really what made me realize you can't have complete faith in our medical system because it is so broken. And if I had not gone to my bodybuilding coach and trusted him with 100% complete confidence, I wouldn't even be healthy today. And that's what's really scary. And what's even more scary is I had to order all of my medications black market because, and I'm not telling anyone to do this. Please, no one like take my advice. Like I'm obviously not a doctor, but thank God I'm not. I'm not telling anyone to go do this. So please do not take my advice. This is what I had to do, but I was desperate. I was really, really desperate. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to order this shit from India. And if something happens to me, it can't be worse than what I'm already going through. So I had to order like antibiotics, all of it. I had to order anti-inflammatories, all this stuff from India because nobody would script it to me because I was too young and too healthy to need any of it. So they refused it. And thank God for my coach, David, because he is the one who fixed me and healed me. But yeah, so that's kind of my story in a really brief nutshell. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, medical system is not always going to have an answer for you.
Shout out Dynamite D. Yeah, that's David on Instagram. I know him. I've met him a few times in person. He's a good guy. And it is just, our own two personal testaments to how you can have a problem. You can go explain your problem. You can be present for blood work and for other things. And at the end of the day, it might be up to you to fix your own damn problem. And that sucks. Like, especially when you go to somebody that has a position of authority and tells you, oh no, you're fine. The blood work came back just fine. So with our remaining time, I just kind of want to go through some horror stories that I can pick from clients I've worked with. I got myself the first one. I did get a call from my doctor that not everything was fine. I got told that my liver might be failing. And that freaked me out. Because like, shit, liver failure? I don't even drink. Well, my liver, so your AST and ALT, they should not get above the 40s based on the reference ranges. And I think one of them, I forget off the top of my head, one of them sits at like 44. Mine came back at a whole whopping 46. And the doctor called me and said, you need to come back in. Like, your blood work's off. Your liver might be failing. Like, this is serious. And I'm like, oh God. I don't know how this happened. And then I did some research. A good doctor won't care until you're triple digits. Like, you got to be 200, 300 for your AST or ALT to really be out that far. This even includes like guys in the gym abusing oral steroids if you're drinking a lot. And when you look at the totality, your AST and your ALT, they get elevated if you train hard. I train hard. I probably trained legs the day before or 2 days before that blood work test. And the doctor never told me don't train before this. I will tell all of my clients, do not train the day before, ideally not 2 days before the blood work, because it can raise them. But 46 on a scale of up to 44 in this case is nothing to be concerned about. The doctor should have just, and that's the other thing. Usually your doctors will call you and say, all is fine. You're good to go. And you're like, oh, okay, great. But that's not taking a very deep view. You want to not just look at the reference range. You want to be, as Brooke said earlier, optimal, not just in the reference range. So, my testosterone was in the reference range, but I still felt like shit and it was absolutely horrible. My AST was just slightly out of range and not a concern at all. But those were things I had to educate myself on. So I do that with my clients. I just recently, and I guess we can ping pong back and forth. I had a consult. Somebody reached out and said that they had some health issues going on. And I said, can I see your blood work? And they're like, doctor said the blood work's totally fine. I'm like, can I see the blood work? This woman had her testosterone at, I want to say, 220 nanograms per deciliter. Now, I like to see my women, especially if they're on HRT, like hormone replacement therapy, somewhere between like 50 and 75. Some can push up to 100. if they have no side effects, if they're not slowly turning into a man, if they feel good. But 217? And I said, and your doctor said you were fine? And they said, yeah, they said everything checked out. I said, are you trying to become a man? And she's like, what? I'm like, well, your testosterone is really freaking high. And she's like, I don't know. That's just where they've had me for the last year. And I'm just like, okay, all right, time to find a new doctor. And that's literally what I told her. And then I don't know. We'll see where she decides to take that journey. But yeah, if your doctor's telling you you're fine and you're that far off and slowly transitioning to a man, that's a problem.
Was she on pellets? Was she on a pellet?
Oh,
or
don't know with her. I don't know with her, but with another, this was actually a client. She said, oh, just an update. My doctor renewed my prescriptions. And I was like, what prescriptions? And she's like, well, I'm taking testosterone. And I said, okay, that's fine. We can work with that. What are you doing? And she's like, well, it's injectable. It's 100 milligrams a week. And I'm like, that's more than some guys get prescribed. That is quite literally like if you're going to be transitioning from a female to a male, where your doctor will probably put you. Are you trying to become a male? And she's like, no, I'm a mom of 2 kids and I'm staying that. And I was like, well, you're not for very long if you stay with this. So her doctor's response was, okay, we'll just stop completely. And again, why?
Oh my God.
Why not dial in the dose, but just stop completely? But okay. I've done 2. I'm sure you've come into crazy doctor scenarios with your clients as well.
Oh God, yeah, all the time, almost weekly. I mean, it's like all the time with gut issues. It's sad because I see women suffering and they have SIBO. I know they do. Like, I know they have what I have. They have all the symptoms, but nobody can figure out what's wrong with them. And nobody will test them for it. Nobody will take them seriously. And I did have a horror story with pellets one time. And she ended up leaving me because she felt like, you know, it was more so the training and nutrition, but very similar. Her testosterone was 250. She's 250. And I'm like, your doctor says this is normal. She's like, yeah, I really trust him. And he really knows what he's doing. And he was somehow like related to the family, like married in or somehow. But I was like, gosh, it's unfortunate because this is exactly why you're not getting results. This is exactly why you're gaining weight so fast, because your testosterone is 250. Like, what the heck? She had a pellet, and that's the problem with the pellets. And I told her, I'm like, look, I don't care if you do testosterone. I'm 100% for women being on HRT. 100%. I support that. But the pellets, you can't really control the dose, which is the problem. So I've seen every single client I've had who has had a pellet, eventually their testosterone just gets into these crazy numbers like that. And it's like you said, it's like where men would be. And then they get frustrated. They're holding all this water, they're gaining weight. And it's like, well, yeah, you have a pellet and now you're just stuck with it. Now you just got to ride it out, you know, and because it's in there. Whereas injectable, you can actually change the doses. Like you said, if you realize, okay, this is too high, I'm having side effects, you just change your dose. You just change how much you're using. But these pellets are, I don't know if there's like some sort of incentive for people to push the pellets on people now. I don't know exactly what's going on with that. But yeah, the pellets are just really messing people up. And I know at my boyfriend's clinic, I mean, they don't even do the pellets because they just put women on injectable because it's just, you can't control the pellets. And then once it's 250, you just gotta hang in there,
ride it out, slowly turn it into a man. Just deal with it, suck it up, put a little extra makeup on. Yeah. So to my knowledge, there's like 3 of the, I will say, effective methods of testosterone and testosterone applications. You can have injectables, you can have pellets, you can have the creams, and there are some oral testosterones, but good God, don't do that. So yeah, like realistically, doctors make no money off of testosterone. It's all generic. There's no name brand pharmacy behind it. There's not a lot of money in it. The only money is really in these like hormone clinics or in the consultations, but the actual drug itself, it's dirt cheap. So most doctors are lazy or know that their clients might be considered lazy. So they say, hey, just take this pellet. I'll see you every 3 months or every 2 months to put the next one in you. It's easy for them. It's a one and done. They wipe their hands clean. You slowly turn into a man. No problem. Injectable is great. A lot of people are afraid of needles. So that's why a lot of doctors don't recommend it. And realistically, with injections for a woman, I would say Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be great. So you just got to bring injections with you 3 days a week. It can be done with a really small insulin syringe. But again, a lot of people don't like needles. So they'll be like, oh, let me do the oral ones. But oral testosterone is going to have an extremely small, short half-life. So you're going to be needing to do morning and nightly pills. And how many people forget to do that? Like maybe not top tier bodybuilders, but your average person having to do that twice a day, every single day. And if you go on vacation and you forget, oh God, like, you're just going to feel like shit. So issues there. And then again, I had a client that was successfully transitioned from female to male, and they were happy with their transition. But the problem with their administration was they were doing 100 milligrams every 5 days. And the doctor was like, your blood work came back a little bit high, which was correct. That's great. So me being me, maybe we do 75 every 5 days. Maybe we do 50 every 5 days. They're like, no, we'll just do 100 milligrams every 10 days. And I'm sitting here, and that's like, you got a toothache, and you're supposed to take 2 Tylenols every 4 hours. And they're like, no, just take like 16 Tylenols every 4 days. And it's like, that's not how this works. With the way these drugs clear our system, we need to at least have some stability in there. So already they would have been better off, instead of 100 every 5 days, maybe 50 every 2.5 days, however you want to space it out, not using such a large bolus at once. But the thought process to tell somebody once every 10 days on something that has a half-life of about 3.5 days, there are not enough brick walls for me to run my head into. It just...
Yeah. With hormones, I always tell people, I'm like honestly, these hormone clinics are really just the best way to go, even though they still make mistakes sometimes. But like going to an OBGYN for hormones, you're gonna mess yourself up. Don't do it.
And I went to an endocrinologist that said, you don't need to have your estrogen tested.
Which is crazy.
I went and printed out like 10 medical journals that I could find on Google and highlighted how every credible source is like, yes, you want to monitor testosterone, estrogen, things like blood thickness. It just,
and it's sad. And like, I did the same thing when I went. So when I went to that third doctor, I had all my tests printed out. I had all my hormones. Like I'd independently run my hormones. I'd run like a cortisol saliva test. So I look like a crazy person. I have this like huge stack of papers of all these tests. And I'm like, please figure out what's wrong with me. Like, please, here's everything that you could ever possibly want to know what's going on physiologically inside of me. So of course he's probably like, God, this chick is fucking nuts. But like, it's sad because that's where it drives people, because they don't have answers. And and that's what I encourage people to think about. And even like you mentioned WebMD earlier, if you want just a simple way to figure out how much the medical system really knows, look up the cause of most chronic conditions, and you won't be able to find a cause. Look up the cause of PCOS. You won't be able to find one. They'll tell you there is no cause. There are things that could potentially cause it. And then if you look up like a cure, like how to fix PCOS or how to alleviate symptoms, you probably won't find anything either. But there's a lot of things that you can do with nutrition and exercise and sleep and supplements, natural supplements, to help with PCOS. But almost everything like that. If you look up endometriosis, nobody knows. We have no idea, but there's plenty of things that you can do. So it's really crazy that I feel like we grow up thinking that our doctors have all the answers. They really don't have any answers. They just help us manage all of the ailments that we're dealing with, unless you have, like an infection or a broken bone. But in this day and age, with the food the way it is, the air quality, all the shit in the world, we have more chronic illnesses than ever. And there's no explanation for these chronic illnesses, and there's no fix.
Yep. And then the one that probably pisses me off the most is when I have clients that have a treatable issue, or they go to their doctor and the doctor's first response is, oh, well, maybe you should add some eggs back into your diet.
Oh yeah. Heard that.
That's what I'm like, what is in an egg that we are so deficient in? Like, I mean, you can break down eggs. They have cholesterol, they have protein, they have selenium. What do you need out of that you're missing? And then they don't say, let me see your current diet. Because you might say I'm vegan, and like, I love my brother, and my brother loves Oreos, and he loves Lay's potato chips. He is not quite your pinnacle of health vegan. He's more of your, I love animals, so I don't eat animals, but I eat good tasting vegan junk food. They don't even ask, what do you eat? They just say, oh, you're vegan? Well, you probably need to eat eggs. It just, it blows my mind. So yeah. I'm sure there's a doctor out there listening to this that's a good doctor. And for you, I thank you. But
oh yeah, they're out there.
For most people, though, you guys need to really take your own health into your own hands, advocate for yourself, do your own research, become a little bit of a Google foo person. And if you still need help, or you need guidance, or you want a second opinion, I'm not a doctor. Brooke's not a doctor, but we've had to learn how to treat ourselves. And that's part of what we also offer for our clients. And I'll be straight up with you. If I don't know it, my first client that had PCOS, I had no clue how to take care of her. I had to go hire another coach that specialized in that. And then I learned it. And right now I'm so busy with my prep clients and other things. If you have something that I truly can't handle, I'll find you a better coach that can. If you got SIBO, I'll send you to Brooke. I'll send you to David. I'm not an expert there. I haven't gone through it myself yet, hopefully. But if you got testosterone issues, I'm your guy. Like, I figured all those out.
Yeah. Don't waste a bunch of money going through all these doctor's appointments. It's really sad. I probably spent, honestly, probably like $10,000 in total just trying to get here to where I am, and like all the tests, all the office visits, all the medications, and then my coach and all of it. I probably spent $10,000 just to be healthy again. And I didn't need to spend that much. It could have easily been like $1,000.
And that's part of the rub that's the worst is the mental anguish that whole time. Waiting for it figured out. And waiting for everything to take forever, and for not getting you pointed in the right direction, and waiting on hold for 45 minutes because you need your doctor to fill your prescription, and then they hang up on you on accident. So you got to go back through the queue of 45 minutes of waiting on hold in this day and age. It makes absolutely zero sense. All right. Well, I think we've shit on the medical system enough for today. But seriously, if y'all need help, try to do your own research. But if you need somebody to help guide you, me and Brooke that's what we're here to do. We're here to help. We're here to lift you up in every way possible. And hopefully not have you go eat an egg because your doctor doesn't know what to tell you to eat.
Yeah. And then that's the thing with the ex-vegans now is that's what's so troubling, is because I think a big portion of the ex-vegan movement is people who they're struggling with a health issue, which can happen to anyone. Like, I developed SIBO when I was vegan, and I easily could have associated, oh, I got this because I'm vegan. And that's basically what doctors were telling me. And so, like, in some ways, like, I do kind of sympathize with some of these people who are ex-vegans, because there was a point where I was absolutely miserable and I was so desperate. I was so desperate. And if somebody really convinced me, if I really saw somebody in a white coat as the absolute authority, and they knew really what they were talking about, and I just trusted them 100%, and they were telling me, you made yourself sick by eating this way, and you're not going to get better and you're not going to get your life back unless you eat this. I can understand why people, I really like, I can understand, like, of course there is an animal welfare part, but like, I mean, being as sick as I was, I can, if these people were that sick, I can kind of understand it. But I just always knew in my heart that that wasn't true, because I'm read up on the nutrition information. Like we stay on top of this stuff for our clients and for our business, but a lot of these people aren't. A lot of these people aren't informed on plant-based nutrition, so they go to the doctor and they're easily persuaded to go to the other side, whether they love animals or not. So it's unfortunate because there's just such a lack of information on plant-based nutrition. And so anytime anything happens to anyone who's vegan, it's because you're vegan. You know, that's the outlier.
I think there's plenty of information. It's just not shared by doctors in the current medical system. Like you can go and, like, I know we actually want to get some prominent vegan doctors on here to share some of what they've uncovered, like some of these people's life works. Well, anyways, we'll try and make the next one a little bit more upbeat. But I mean,
always.
You know what?
I think takeaway message. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I always go.
I was going to just say, like, takeaway message. What I want people to get from this episode is just to advocate for yourself in a medical system that is not going to advocate for you. And you know your body best. And that's what I've learned through all of this. If you know something is wrong, then it probably is. If you've lived in your whole body, your body, your whole life. And so if something is weird all of a sudden and you're like, this is strange, I don't want to ignore it, and somebody doesn't give you an answer, go to the next person. And if that person doesn't give you an answer, you know, I went through about 5 doctors before I got an answer, but I finally did. And I wouldn't be here where I am now had I not kept going. So I just want people to know that the medical system is not the end all be all. And, you know, even before all of this stuff, like all these, like, you know, functional health practitioners and those holistic people and acupuncture, I would have said that's bullshit. I wouldn't waste my money on that stuff. Like, why would I do that? I'm just going to go to the doctor. But now I see so much more value in that kind of approach, like that functional health, than I do in our medical system. And so if you can't find answers through our medical system, there are plenty of other people that you can go see. There are holistic practitioners, functional practitioners, acupuncturists. I can't even think, like chiropractors, all sorts of different people. So don't just limit yourself to the medical system, because they don't always have an answer, especially if it's a chronic condition. So just advocate for yourself and don't stop searching for an answer.
I agree completely. You guys can do this. Don't give up. Go get the right help. And yeah, as Brooke said, advocate for yourself. I'm going to go eat. You going to go eat, Brooke?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. So it's time to eat. Guys, I'm not going to ask a lot. All I'm going to ask is share this with one person. If everybody shared it with one person, we get around the world, help a lot of people. So please do that. It's been another exciting, awesome, uplifting, inspiring, advocating episode of the Vegans Who Live podcast with your favorite vegans, Brooke Sellers, aka Miss Meatless Muscle, and myself, John Thomas, the Bodybuilding Vegan. We'll catch y'all next time.